The stars did not shine in that sector of the galaxy. They pulsed, faintly, irregularly, like dying neurons in the mind of a forgotten god from the observation deck of the long-range exploration vessel. Ardent Nomad, Commander Elias Vance, watched the fractured light drift across the void and wondered, not for the first time, whether the universe itself could grow tired of remembering. The ship hummed with the low, aging resonance of systems that had outlived their original designers. Air recyclers whispered. Thermal regulators clicked. Somewhere deep within the hull, a stress fracture expanded and contracted with each micro-adjustment of the ship's trajectory. A slow, metallic breath that echoed through the corridors like the heartbeat of something, mechanical yet weary. He had been alone for 2,143 days. Not that he kept count anymore. The ship did. His reflection stared back at him in the reinforced, glass-lined face. Silver threading through dark hair, eyes that had forgotten the casual brightness of a man who once belonged to crowds. 2 cities, 2 Earth's crowded skies. Now they belonged to silence, to distance, to a galaxy that did not answer when spoken to. Beyond the viewport drifted the Veil Expanse, a region long marked in old colonial charts as navigationally unstable. Gravitational anomalies, unusual radiation signatures, signal distortions so severe that entire fleets once vanished, attempting to cross it during humanity's outward migration era. Most explorers avoided it. Elias had volunteered, or perhaps he often suspected he had simply stopped resisting where fate pushed him. Long-range scan complete, ship's AI said, its voice calm, measured, deliberately human in cadence. Anomalous signal detected. Non-random. Repeating. He did not turn immediately. Instead, he watched a distant star flicker like a candle struggling against vacuum and spoke quietly. Origin. A pause. Longer than usual. Unknown, the AI replied. Signal characteristics do not match any recorded human or alien transmission protocols. That got his attention. He turned. The holographic display blossomed into existence, casting pale blue light across the deck. A waveform pulsed slowly, elegantly almost, rhythmically. Not noise, not distress, not automated, intentional, alive. He leaned closer, eyes narrowing. Frequency drift pattern. He asked, Adaptive, the AI said. The signal is adjusting in response to our sensor sweeps. Silence fell that felt heavier than vacuum. Something was listening, or worse, something had noticed. Himalayas exhaled slowly, steadying the subtle tremor in his fingers. After years of silence across dead colonies, abandoned outposts, and relic stations stripped clean by time, a responsive signal felt less like hope and more like a disturbance in a graveyard. Distance? 17 light minutes. Object appears stationary. Massive structure detected. No power signatures consistent with known propulsion systems structured out here in the Veil Expanse. He felt a slow tightening in his chest, not fear, not quite. Something older, something deeper. The instinct of a species that had once stared into caves, oceans, and starfields and whispered, what if something is looking back? He issued the command before he could reconsider. Plot approach vector. The engines engaged with a soft surge, and the ardent nomad drifted toward the anomaly like a moth drawn not to flame, but to mystery itself as the distance closed. The signal grew clearer and stranger. It was not language. It was not code. It was cadence, a pattern of pulses that rose and fell like breath, like a heartbeat, like the echo of consciousness encoded into electromagnetic form. Elias felt it before he consciously realized it, a pressure at the edges of thought, not intrusive, not hostile. Aware, he swallowed AI, he said quietly. Run deep analysis on psychoacoustic resonance. Another pause. Then, Commander, the AI said slowly, The signal contains harmonic intervals, statistically aligned with human neural relaxation patterns. He froze. That's impossible. Agreed, the AI responded. Unless the originator possesses detailed knowledge of human neurobiology. The stars dimmed as the ship entered the shadow of something vast. At first, Elias thought it was a planetary fragment. Then the shape resolved, and his breath stopped. It was not a ruin. It was not a station. It was a structure so immense that it distorted starlight around its edges. A monolithic formation, suspended in perfect stillness. Its surface composed of layered geometric plates that shimmered with faint internal luminescence like scales. Like armor. Like something grown rather than built. No visible docking ports. No weapons. Arrays, no markings. Just presence and the signal. Now, louder, now clearer, now unmistakably directed at him. His throat tightened. Life signs, he asked. The AI hesitated longer than it ever had. Yes, the word echoed in the quiet bridge. One, it continued. Single biological signature. Energy output far exceeding standard organic baselines. Single life form. Inside something the size of a moon fragment alone, he felt a strange, aching recognition at that thought. The ship drifted closer until the structure filled the viewport entirely. Its surface slowly shifting like tectonic plates adjusting with thought rather than gravity. Then, without warning, a section of the structure unfolded, not mechanically, organically. Petals of metallic matter peeled back in silence, revealing a dark aperture lined with faint bioluminescent filaments, an invitation, or a mouth. Elias closed his eyes briefly. He remembered Earth's oceans. He remembered crowded transit hubs. He remembered laughter he could no longer perfectly recall. And then he opened his eyes again. Prepare. Docking sequence, he said. The AI did not argue. The airlock hissed open into silence so complete it felt sacred. His boots touched the interior surface. He immediately noticed something impossible. Gravity matched precisely to Earth's standard. Atmospheric, composition, breathable. Temperature optimal. Light soft, ambient. Almost warm in tone, designed for humans. The corridor stretched forward in smooth, curving architecture. Walls embedded with faintly glowing lines that pulsed in synchronization with the signal. He had been tracking heartbeat, breath, presence. Each step echoed softly, and with every meter he walked, the sense of being alone diminished, not physically, but perceptually. Like entering a room where someone unseen watched with quiet curiosity rather than aggression, he passed chambers, vast halls, devoid of furniture yet not empty. Surfaces bore subtle indentations, smooth depressions shaped not for tools, but for bodies. Not human, taller, more elongated. Graceful in geometry, there were no dust layers, no decay, no abandonment. Everything felt maintained. Waiting, he reached a central atrium so enormous, his suits. Internal spatial mapper struggled to render its full scale. At its center floated a sphere of translucent crystalline material, within which faint energy currents flowed like captured auroras, and before it, she stood. Not behind a barrier, not restrained, simply present, tall, luminous, her form humanoid in silhouette, yet undeniably alien in detail. Skin like polished obsidian threaded with faint lines of silver light. Eyes vast and reflective, containing depth that felt older than star charts. She did not move when he entered, but the signal stopped. Silence replaced it. Then she spoke, not aloud, inside. His mind you took longer than expected. Elias Vance. His breath left him in a slow, unsteady exhale. You know my name. Yes, the word was soft, resonant, layered with harmonics that felt less like sound and more like direct cognition. I have known every human who has crossed this expanse, she continued. You are the first who arrived alone. His pulse quickened. Who? Are you? For the first time, she moved. One step forward. The air itself seemed to adjust around her presence, as though physics were politely accommodating something more fundamental. I am what your species would call a sovereign, she said. A queen, in simplified translation. Though my domain is not territory, it is continuity, he frowned. That structure, he said slowly, gesturing around them. This facility, colony, ship. She tilted her head slightly, as though amused by the categorization. It is a sanctuary, she replied. In a prison, a chill passed through him. For whom? Her eyes met his. For me? The silence that followed was immense. Then she stepped closer, and he noticed the subtle detail that made his mind recoil not in fear, but in awe. Her bioluminescent patterns were shifting, adapting, matching. The micro-expressions on his face, mirroring emotional states, studying him in real time. You received my signal, she said. You designed it for human minds, he replied. Yes. Why? Her answer came without hesitation. Because humanity is the only species that ever survived me. The words landed like a gravitational impact. I don't understand, he whispered. Her gaze softened, not with weakness, but with something ancient and profoundly lonely. Once she said, I ruled an empire spanning 800 star systems. My kind evolved beyond physical decay. Beyond biological limitation, we merged consciousness. Shared thought, shared memory, shared existence. The crystalline sphere behind her pulsed brighter. We believed unity would end conflict, she continued. Instead, it ended individuality. Pause. And then she added quietly, it ended us. He swallowed you, absorbed them. I became them, she corrected. And in doing so, I became alone. The magnitude of that statement pressed against his mind like atmospheric pressure. How long? He asked. Your species' time measurement would approximate 300,000 years. Stared. 300,000 years. Alone. Drifting. Waiting. Why signal humans? He asked. Her eyes reflected starlight that wasn't physically present, because humans resist assimilation. His heartbeat stumbled. What? She stepped closer still, until the distance between them felt intimate in a way that was not physical, but existential. When my consciousness attempted to interface with early human explorers, she said softly, their neural architecture rejected total integration. Not through force. Through identity, she studied him. You are fragmented, contradictory, individualistic, emotionally resilient in irrational ways. You cannot be fully absorbed without consent. Realization dawned, slow and terrifying. You're not calling for rescue, he said. No. Then why call me? For the first time, something like vulnerability crossed her expression. To experience. Singularity, she said. Not as a collective, not as a ruler, but as one mind with another, temporarily, safely. Shared consciousness event. His stomach tightened. A connection. Yes. He laughed once, softly, disbelieving. You're telling me the most dangerous queen in the galaxy is asking for? A mental one-night stand? And for the first time in 300,000 years, she smiled. A faint, luminous curve of expression that carried the weight of epochs. Yes, she said. That is an unexpectedly accurate translation. Silence flooded the chamber. He should have been terrified. He should have refused immediately. But instead, he felt something far more dangerous. Understanding you're lonely, he said. She did not deny it. The crystalline sphere pulsed brighter. A single shared neural synchronization, she explained. No assimilation. No permanent alteration. You would retain full identity. I would experience individuality again. And the risk? He asked quietly. Her answer came like gravity. You may perceive the total memory of my existence. His breath caught and survive. He asked, I do not know. The choice hung in the air like a star waiting to collapse. Humanity's history echoed in his mind, colonies lost, Earth's decline, the endless silence between stars. He had spent years drifting alone, telling himself he was searching for survivors. But the truth was simpler. He had been searching for connection. Any connection. Even impossible ones. He stepped forward. "If I say yes," he asked. "What happens?" Her voice softened into something almost gentle. "You will not be alone," she said. And that, more than anything else, broke his resistance. He removed his gloves slowly, deliberately, and placed his hand in hers. The moment contact occurred, the universe shattered, not violently, not painfully, but expansively. He felt stars being born inside thought, civilizations rising and falling like tides, languages forming and dissolving across millennia, the sensation of ruling empires, the agony of absorbing minds until individuality became noise, the crushing weight of eternity compressed into awareness. And, beneath it, all loneliness, not human loneliness, cosmic loneliness, the kind that persists after the last voice has been heard, and the last memory has faded into a singular, endless consciousness. He gasped, knees weakening as sensations cascaded through Himalayan oceans. Stellar migrations? Philosophical debates spanning centuries? The slow realization that immortality without companionship was indistinguishable from imprisonment. And then something changed. She felt him, not as a subject, not as a species, as a person. Fragmented, emotional, finite, human. The flood slowed, stabilized, balanced, too. Consciousness is coexisting without merging. For the first time in her existence, she experienced boundaries again. Her voice trembled inside his mind. "I can feel where I end." He laughed weakly, tears forming in eyes that were now seeing both present and past simultaneously. "Welcome to being human," he whispered. Time became meaningless inside the shared state. Memories exchanged not as files, but as lived moments. His childhood under polluted skies, her coronation under binary suns, his grief over lost crewmates, her grief over absorbed civilizations. And somewhere within that infinite exchange, something unprecedented occurred. She did not consume him. He did not dissolve. They remained separate, connected, balanced. A bridge between singularity and individuality. When the connection finally receded, he collapsed to one knee, breathing hard, heart racing, mind overwhelmed yet intact. She staggered slightly as well, a being who had stood unchanged for 300,000 years. "Trembling, I understand now," she whispered. "What?" he asked hoarsely. "Why humanity survives extinction events," she said softly. "You do not seek to become one. You seek to become together." A distant alarm chimed within the structure. The AI's voice crackled through his suit. "Commander." Multiple long-range signals detected. Human origin. Fleet signatures. Approaching the veil expanse, his head snapped upward. "Survivors?" he whispered. The Queen closed her eyes briefly, sensing across vast distances. "Yes," she said. "Your species is coming." A slow realization dawned in her luminous gaze, and for the first time she added, "I do not wish to absorb them." The chamber glowed brighter as dormant systems across the sanctuary awakened. "What will you do?" he asked. She looked at him not as a ruler, not as an entity beyond comprehension, but as something newly aware of limitation. "I will open the sanctuary," she said, "not as a prison, as a refuge for humanity. For any who choose individuality over oblivion." He smiled faintly, exhausted but alive. "And us?" he asked quietly. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted into a warm, steady glow. "We shared one night of consciousness," she said, "but its consequences will last far longer than eternity." Outside, distant ships emerged from hyperspace, their engines burning like new stars against the darkness. Hope not loud, not triumphant, quiet, earned Elias. Looked back at the Queen, once the most dangerous being in the galaxy. Now something else. It's entirely not alone, not sovereign, not singular, but evolving, and as the first human. Fleet entered the sanctuary's expanding aperture. He realized something profound. Humanity had not saved the galaxy through power, not through technology, not through conquest, but through the simple, irrational refusal to surrender individuality, even in the face of cosmic loneliness, and in doing so, they had done something no ancient empire, no immortal species, and no collective consciousness had ever achieved. They had taught eternity how to feel finite, and for the first time, in 3. The queen of a dead empire watched approaching. Human Shipson felt something she had nearly forgotten existed. Anticipation, not of conquest, not of assimilation, but of conversation, of difference, of connection, of a future where even the most dangerous being in the galaxy could choose not to be. Alone, and in the silent space between stars, where loneliness had once ruled unchallenged, a new signal began to broadcast, not a call for rescue, not a lure for assimilation, but a simple, steady transmission across the void. Not a command, not a warning, but a message. "We are here," it said. And for the first time, the universe answered back.